of the printed calendar, House Bill 1983, a bill to amend and reenact a section of the code relating to remote access to land records, indemnification. Report from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments.
Gentleman from Fairfax, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move the committee amendment.
Questions on adoption of the committee amendments? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The amendments are agreed to. The gentleman from Fairfax.
Mr. Speaker, HB 1983, which is an agency bill from VDOT, amends Section 17-276 of the Code to specify that agreements between circuit court clerks or their vendors and state agencies for remote access to land records may not contain a provision requiring state agency to indemnify the clerk or vendor. I might add that VDOT estimates a savings of $250,000 annually as a result of this bill, which is a good thing. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to third reading.
Thank you. Gentleman from Loudon, Mr. Minshew.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Will the gentleman yield? Does the gentleman yield?
I'd be happy to yield to my old friend from Langley High School.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask the gentleman from Langley High School whether he remembers what he learned in 12th grade government class about equal protection, and I would ask the gentleman how he could possibly advocate for a bill that exempts state agencies from having to indemnify the clerk's office in their local circuit courts when they seek remote access, but nevertheless require ordinary tax-paying citizens to provide this indemnification.
It is the privilege of the sovereign.
Mr. Speaker, would the gentleman yield for a question?
Gentleman yield.
Another question.
Tempted as I am to say no, I will yield nevertheless.
Gentleman yields.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the gentleman's attempted response at providing a response in English, and I would ask him if he would be willing to have his bill re-referred to the Appropriations Committee so that the latent fiscal impact in it may be duly examined.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for that question. As I pointed out in my introductory remarks, this bill actually saves money, which I'm hoping VDOT can use for some important purposes like getting rid of those long lines we always hear so many complaints about. It doesn't need to go back to appropriations.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the gentleman's fiscal conservatism.
Gentleman from Charlottesville, Mr. Toscano.
Mr. Speaker, will the gentleman yield for a question?
Will the gentleman yield?
Did he say gentleman or gentlewoman? I yield.
Mr. Speaker, I'd ask the gentleman, I see all this stuff about indemnity here, and it looks to me like all this bill is a jobs for lawyers bill.
Yes, indeed, as often as possible.
So my question to the gentleman, since he is a lawyer and he knows exactly what he's doing by creating these provisions that do not allow an indemnity for the clerk, if you're a lawyer, you could sue the clerk, and you might benefit from this. Why aren't you disqualifying yourself from voting on your own bill?
I don't practice in this area, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker. And I'm simply providing an opportunity for the clerk to live up to the rest of the law. This was looked at in a case called First Virginia Bank v. Baker in 1983. And in that case, Justice Poff made clear that a clerk can be sued for negligence. For instance, in that case, the clerk misfiled something in the index, leading to damages from a bank. And those banks are entitled to relief.
I thank the Speaker.
The question is on engrossment passage, third reading. As many as favor that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No, no, no.
3. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.